Shanquella, can you at least fight back?
No. Why she not coming?
At least something. At least fight back, something.
Get up, bro. Get up.
Yeah.
Shanquella died the same day this video was taken, and at the time it was leaked online, everyone who was with Shanquella told her mom she died of alcohol poisoning. They all denied that a fight ever happened. So tell me, after seeing that video, what do you believe?
A doctor is knelt on the floor of a luxury villa in Cabo San Lucas, Mexico. It's a Saturday afternoon. Outside, the ocean is sparkling. The resort is beautiful. And inside this room, a 25-year-old woman named Shanquella Robinson is dying. The doctor has been called by her travel companions. He asks what happened. They tell him she drank too much. He looks at her body. Something doesn't add up. She has no pulse. Her neck appears badly injured. He calls for an ambulance. Then another. Then another. Each one refuses to transport her without a pulse. So he stays on the floor of that villa for over 3.5 hours, trying to save a woman who, based on what investigators would later uncover, may have been dying long before he ever arrived. At 3 p.m. on October 29, 2022, Shanquella Robinson was pronounced dead. Her mother, Salamondra, was home in Charlotte, North Carolina. A few hours earlier, Shanquella had called her. She said she was about to go eat tacos. She sounded fine. Happy even. That was the last normal conversation they ever had. By the time Salamondra got the call that her daughter was gone, she had already been given a story. Alcohol poisoning. That's what she was told. Her daughter drank too much, got sick and died. Tragic. Accidental. Case closed. Except nothing about this case was ever going to be that simple. Because somewhere on someone's phone, a video existed. And when that video got out, it didn't just break the internet. It broke open one of the most disturbing, frustrating, and heartbreaking cases of friend group betrayal that this country has ever seen. Before we go any further, if this story matters to you, if you believe Shanquella and her family deserve to have the world know what happened, please subscribe to 3am Files right now. Hit that bell. Like this video. It costs you nothing, but it tells the algorithm that stories like this one deserve to be heard. Real people, real pain, real accountability. Don't scroll past this. Stay with us. Let's go back to the beginning. Because to understand how Shanquella ended up in that villa, dying on the floor while people who called themselves her friends stood around her, you need to understand who she was. And you need to understand who they were. Shanquella Robinson grew up in Charlotte. She was a graduate of Winston-Salem State University, a young entrepreneur who had built her own hair business from the ground up. By all accounts, she was the kind of woman who lit up a room. Her parents, Salamondra and Bernard, described her as their everything. Hardworking, loving, ambitious. She had a life ahead of her that most people spend years building toward. She was 25 years old. The people she traveled with were people she had known since college. 6 of them in total, 3 women, 3 men. Khalil Cook, Malik Dyer, Winter Donovan, Alice Hyatt, Nazir Wiggins, and the woman who would later become the central figure in this story, Dejani Jackson, who in the years following Shanquella's death, would quietly change her legal name to Imani Green. The trip was planned as a birthday celebration getaway. A luxury rental villa at the Puerto Los Cabos resort. Private pool. Ocean views. The kind of trip you post on Instagram and make everyone back home jealous. And here is the first thing that sits a little sideways when you look back at it. Shanquella, according to the lawsuit her family would later file, was a last-minute addition to the trip. Someone else had cancelled. She was invited to fill the spot. Think about that for a moment. She wasn't even the original guest. She was the replacement. They flew out on October 28, 2022. By the next afternoon, she was dead. Now here's where the psychology of this case starts to get deeply unsettling. When a group of people travel together, they form a temporary social ecosystem. There are unspoken rules. There are power dynamics. There are loyalties. And when something goes wrong, those dynamics determine everything, Who speaks, who stays silent, who lies, and who protects whom? In the hours after Shanquella collapsed, every single person in that villa made a choice. The doctor was called, yes. But the group refused to take her to a hospital despite the doctor specifically recommending it. They told the doctor she was dehydrated from drinking. They managed the narrative from the very first moment. And when they flew home to Charlotte, Johnny Jackson and Khalil Cook went directly to Salamandra Robinson's door. They handed over Shanquella's belongings. They offered their condolences. They looked her mother in the face and said her daughter had died of alcohol poisoning. No fight. No altercation. Just a terrible accident. Salamandra told reporters later that her suspicions grew because every person she spoke to had a slightly different version of events. The stories didn't match. The details shifted. And as any investigator or psychologist will tell you, when a group of people are telling the truth, the small details might vary. But the core story stays consistent. When people are lying and coordinating, the opposite happens. The core story sounds rehearsed, but the edges fray. People fill gaps slightly differently. Cover stories have seams. The Robinson family could feel the seams. And then the video surfaced. And everything changed. It appeared first on Twitter, then spread everywhere within hours. The footage is difficult to watch. Inside what appears to be a bedroom in the villa, a naked woman, Shanquella Robinson, is being brutally beaten by another woman. The attacker throws punches at her face, grabs her by the neck, slams her. Shanquella barely defends herself. She can barely stand. And in the background you can hear a male voice, one of her travel companions, say the words that have haunted this case ever since. Can you at least fight back? Not stop. Not, hey, that's enough. Not any attempt to intervene. Just casual cruelty directed at the woman being beaten. Like it was entertainment. According to the wrongful death lawsuit, someone in that room was on a FaceTime call during the attack. Jackson's boyfriend, allegedly, watching it live from another location. Not a secret. Not hidden. A live stream of violence against a woman who thought these people were her friends. The video changed the public conversation instantly. What had been framed as a tragic vacation death became something the world recognized immediately for what it was. An assault. And the question that followed was one that Salamandra Robinson had already been asking in the privacy of her grief. Did the beating kill her daughter? The Mexican death certificate answered it clearly. Cause of death: severe spinal cord injury and atlas luxation. The atlas is the top vertebra in your spine, the one that connects your skull to your neck. A luxation means it was displaced. The manner of death on that certificate: violent. There was no mention of alcohol. Now here is where the case fractures in a way that is deeply disturbing from a systemic standpoint. When Shanquella's body was returned to the United States and examined by the Mecklenburg County Medical Examiner, a second autopsy was performed. And the findings were strikingly different. The U.S. autopsy found no spinal fracture. No skull fractures. The cause of death was listed as undetermined. The most significant finding, according to their report, was a hematoma, bleeding, on the head. 2 autopsies, 2 countries, 2 completely different conclusions. You have to sit with what that means. Either the Mexican examination was wrong about a displaced atlas vertebra, a catastrophic spinal injury, or the U.S. examination missed it. These are not minor discrepancies. A displaced atlas vertebra is not a subtle finding. It is an injury associated with severe blunt force trauma. And one of these 2 medical examinations either found something significant that the other didn't, or missed something significant that the other did. The family's attorney, Sue Robinson, has been unequivocal that she believes the conflicting autopsies are a problem that has been allowed to exist without proper scrutiny. FBI documents released through public records requests, over 100 pages, much of it heavily redacted, revealed that agents had interviewed people connected to the case and received troubling secondary accounts. One source told the FBI that people close to the situation claimed Shanquella's body showed signs consistent with being stomped on. That same source reported that the group had told medical staff at the scene that she hit her head on a toilet. That was the story they told the doctor in the room. And it's the story that, when placed next to the video evidence and the Mexican autopsy, collapses completely. Mexico moved before the United States did. In November 2022, the Attorney General of Baja California announced that an arrest warrant had been issued for the direct aggressor identified in the assault. The charge was femicide, the killing of a woman on account of her gender. An Interpol red notice was reportedly requested. A formal extradition request was sent to the United States. It was never processed. The State Department allegedly never forwarded the request to the International Affairs Office. The suspect was never extradited. The warrant has never been executed.
Yes, I'm here for Shanquella Robinson. Shanquella was my daughter. We loved Shanquella. Shanquella had a family that loved her, and she was an amazing child. And she loved people. She did no wrong to no one. And we just heartbreaking how we seen a video of her being brutally beaten, and no one has been arrested yet. Someone should have been arrested right after the video was released.
Amen.
But unfortunately.
And now the story takes a turn that reveals something important about how accountability operates, or fails to, in cases involving young black women. The FBI opened an investigation in November 2022. The family cooperated. Salamandra handed over Shanquella's phone, which she says contained significant information. The investigation ran for months. And in April 2023, federal prosecutors made their announcement. They would not be seeking charges. Their statement said that the available evidence did not support a federal prosecution beyond a reasonable doubt. No arrest, no charges, case closed, officially at least. Except the FBI simultaneously told the family that the case wasn't officially closed. That they were still working on translating documents from Mexico. That records couldn't be released because the investigation was ongoing. The family found themselves in a maddening loop, told there was nothing to prosecute, but also told the investigation was still open. Told to be patient but given nothing. Salamandra Robinson went public with her fury. She posted on Instagram that the FBI had looked at the contents of her daughter's phone and treated it like it was nothing. She named what was happening plainly. Her daughter's killers had looked her in the face and lied, and no one in a position of institutional power was holding them accountable. Bernard Robinson, Shanquella's father, stood before cameras and said words that should make anyone listening stop and feel the weight of what this family has carried. He said he had to be Shanquella's mouth, her voice, because she couldn't speak for herself anymore. In October 2024, exactly 2 years after her death, the family filed a civil wrongful death lawsuit in Mecklenburg County Superior Court against all 6 of the people who traveled with Shanquella. The lawsuit lays out the full picture as the family and their attorneys understand it. The assault, the refusal to get Shanquella medical help, the conspiracy to cover up what happened, the emotional devastation inflicted on her parents. Every single one of the 6 defendants has denied wrongdoing. Some have filed motions to have the case dismissed or moved to Mexico on the grounds that the events happened there. Dejani Jackson, now Imani Green, having changed her name in the years following Shanquella's death, filed her own legal response raising affirmative defenses. Her filing claimed that Shanquella assumed risk through what she called belligerent behavior and provocation. That Green acted in self-defense. That Shanquella's excessive drinking contributed to her own death. A woman who could barely stand. Who didn't fight back. Who needed 3 separate ambulances and still died on that villa floor. The defense strategy, in the view of the Robinson family and their attorneys, is to put the victim on trial. To transform the person who was beaten into the person responsible for what happened to her. By the 3rd anniversary of Shanquella's death in October 2025, attorneys Ben Crump and Susan Robinson were still publicly calling on the FBI to release more information. Their statement put it directly. 3 years had passed, no criminal charges had been brought in the United States, and that was not only heartbreaking, it was unacceptable. As of early 2026, that remains exactly where this case stands. The civil lawsuit is active in Mecklenburg County. No criminal charges exist anywhere in the world. Mexico's femicide warrant has gone unexecuted for over 3 years. The person seen in that video walking free with a new name and a legal strategy built around blaming the woman she was filmed beating. And Shanquella Robinson is still waiting. So here is what I want you to sit with tonight. What does it say about a group of people that they not only failed to stop a beating, but actively recorded it, streamed it, and then coordinated a cover story before the body was even cold? Is that the behavior of people who panicked? Or is that the behavior of people who had already decided in that moment that Shanquella's life mattered less than their own protection? And what does it say about the systems we trust with justice? The FBI, the State Department, medical examiners, that a woman can die with a viral video of her assault in existence, a Mexican death certificate reading violent, and 2 countries' worth of investigations, and still not a single person has faced a single criminal charge. Is this a failure of evidence? Or is it a failure of will? And finally, if Shanquella Robinson had been someone different, someone with more privilege, more visibility, more of the things that make institutions move, do you believe this case would look the same right now? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell us what you believe happened in that villa. Tell us what you think justice looks like for this family. Tell us if you think it's still possible. If this story affected you, please subscribe to 3 AM Files. Like this video. Share it, because the algorithm decides what gets seen, and you decide what the algorithm sees. Shanquella's family has been fighting for 3 years to keep her name alive. The least we can do is make sure the world keeps hearing it. Her name was Shanquella Robinson. She was 25 years old. She called her mother to say she was going to get tacos. She deserved to come home.